Ugh. 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 Yeah. Welcome back. I'm the Wizard of Oz. When it comes to Dungeons and Dragons, God, I'm sick. When it comes to Dungeons and Dragons, the first thing you may think of is a goblin, maybe even a troll, or even an overweight warlock wearing fake elf ears. But did you know with these wacky characters combined, they form some of the best tabletop stories known to man? Rather they be brave heroes embarking on a journey for greatness, or a power-hungry DM just over-sexualizing characters. Today I have for you 3 stories that come from the sea of D&D terror tales that I found to be the most disturbing. Or funny. But as always, sit back, relax, let's listen to this shit. Our first story takes place on the RPG Horror Stories subreddit, posted by my username 2459, called Star Wars Murder Hobos. You know, I know this doesn't take place like in a dungeon or really probably will have any dragons, you know, per se, but it is like a basic D&D experience with these RPG stories. So I would in some way count this as a D&D horror story. I'm sure some people will be like, it's not, but these are tabletop terrors. I tell them the way I fucking want them. I tell them the fucking way I want them, okay? Fuck you. A small gaming club has emerged at this local store, which amounted to people gathering together once a month for a few hours on a Saturday morning to game together, in a variety of one-shot games with a rotating assortment of GMs, and people who didn't play the one-shots would sit down and play various CCGs instead. I asked to run a D6 Star Wars, which is one of my favorite RPGs. People seem excited to play this, and I created a library of several dozen pre-gen characters of wide variety of Star Wars archetypes, dusted off my Star Wars miniatures, and generally got ready to run a one-shot Star Wars game. I will say, that does sound pretty fun. Like, if someone was trying to run, like, a Star Wars RPG game or, like, a D&D-like game, I'd be pretty down to do that. I'd probably be a bounty hunter, honestly. Because, like, my biggest thing would be, like, I'm down to hunt people. I'm also down to just flat out, like, get in some deep trouble. Like, if anyone's ever trying to run a Star Wars game, let me know. I'd be down. I love Star Wars. You could call me one of those Star Wars nerds. You can call me one of those Star Wars geeks. No! You want to call it. If I put that in the video, that has to be bleeped. The one shot came and went, and it was pretty good. People had fun. I got a lot of praise for it, and most of the people on the one shot seemed interested in an ongoing campaign. I was really excited at the chance to run an ongoing Star Wars campaign for the first time in many years. So, the next Saturday, we gathered at the house of one of the players to start a campaign. The first sign of trouble was that instead of a library of carefully crafted pre-gen all designed to be pretty typical Star Wars characters of various sorts, like smugglers, starfighter pilots, bounty hunters, and etc., they all wanted to create their own characters, and not reuse the characters they had for the one-shot. They all immediately dove straight into trying to power game as much as they could, all wanting to create combat monsters that could do as much damage and sustain as much damage as possible, ignoring other important skills like knowing how to fly a ship, repair things, or plot a course for a ship. They spent more time looking through equipment books for the blasters that do the most damage than they did anything else. If anything, this is definitely like a DM horror story. I would hate to see just like you craft like this awesome, really great world for your characters to just kind of delve into, just to have them all be like, yeah, we're just gonna kill everything. Our goal is to slaughter the people, and it's just like, fuck, dude. Fuck. I put so much time into that. I got bit by a spider. I got bit by a spider. When it came time to run the actual adventure, I went with my pretty standard Star Wars game scenario, set in the New Republic era, with the players working as agents of the New Republic. They were given a light freighter, some pocket money credits, some basic weapons and gear, and given a pretty typical mission. Something about going to an Imperial-held planet and stealing some important equipment from an Imperial base, IIRC. They didn't even pretend to follow that mission, basically running off with the ship and wanting to become space pirates. That is funny, just out of nowhere, just, we the New Republic are giving you this quest to hope you will help us in our journey for the Force. And it's just like, fuck the galaxy! I can see for the DM being pissed about this, because it's like, bro, now I have to improv so much shit now. Now I gotta fucking make up so much shit for what they're doing. They're literally going outside the barrier I made. just attacking everything in sight to get money and stuff. And they seemed to think that they'd get more character progression from it, but this wasn't a game where you get more XP from fighting. They ignored the actual assignment and wanted to basically start shaking people down in the spaceport for money. And if any authorities get in the way, to blast them and keep going. They're just ruining this game, dude. You like to think that, like, if this is a Star Wars game, there's got to be someone playing as like an alien species, flat out robbing people in the port, just okay, they didn't make that Star Wars language to not use it, folks. I'm gonna just tell you right now. Nobody's gonna be speaking Gungan anytime soon, okay? There was one Force user amongst the characters, who was being played by a Wiccan girl who tried to play her character as some Force-using mystic from a primitive planet. Okay, that's perfectly allowed, but she kept trying to do things that were blatantly against the rules for Force users, and that they would get her dark side points. In this version of the Star Wars RPG, those points are serious business, and becoming dark side would mean becoming an NPC. That's actually pretty cool. I like that idea, where basically if you just make your character such a bad person, especially like when you have the power of the Force, that they just become a point where you can't even play as them anymore. That's actually kind of a cool concept, I do have to say. Because it's like a way where you kind of kill your character, and I'm sure some people would be like, well, that's lame. What if you just want to be on the dark side? Well, it's like, well, you're kind of bad. And if you think about it, a bad guy's going to go on their own whim. They're not going to stick with a party. Usually most of the time when fucking bad people fucking happen in Star Wars, they're like, nah, fuck you guys, and they get out of here, okay? She was indignant about this and tried to lecture me at length on an ethic and morality of the use of ritual magic and how nothing she was trying to do in the game was wrong. And how I was being stuck up lawful good and trying to force what she saw as my beliefs on her. And she absolutely would not listen to me when saying that the rules of the setting, even when I was literally quoting lines from the movie about the rules of the Force to justify the rules she wanted to break. She was basically playing a self-insert character with how she imagined her neo-pagan magic as Force powers, and was seeing me saying that everything she was trying to do was dark side as a personal insult against her religious beliefs and practices. Eventually, the session just fizzled out as they kept wanting to mug people in the spaceport and rob ships that were parked, and their total lack of any finesse, negotiation, stealth skills, and heavy focus on pure combat wasn't exactly good for this. It just kind of petered out because they started to get bored of being space murder hobos. Well, that's the problem, is literally there was a story made for you, but you just didn't follow it. So it's like, well, I'm bored. It's like, well, what about the story I fucking wrote? How about that? And I told them that the next encounter would be an overwhelming encounter against the entire Imperial garrison, up to that including an AT-ST and an AT-AT actively, and a possible TIE bomber airstrike against whoever is going around the spaceport shooting the place up and piling up bodies. Rather than play out that Custard's last stand, it ended with some hard feelings and snarky comments about me being a killer GM. Well, isn't that just the consequences of your actions? Because, I mean, you literally were just walking around shooting people in ports and robbing them. So, what, you think somebody was not going to call the space police and go, hey, I just got fucking mugged? Like, yeah, there's got to be some reality to it, so I think it's kind of fucking stupid when you got people that are like, so what, I can't do this anymore? It's like, no! No, you can't fucking do it anymore! And I found I wasn't really welcomed at the gaming club anymore. In fact, they disbanded the club shortly afterwards, deleted the Facebook group for the club, and took down the signs for it in the game store. I found out the one person at the game that I knew away from the club, said Wiccan Girl, that the rest of the folk there had said I was too goody two-shoes to run games for a mature gaming group like them. Yeah, it's pretty mature to just kind of go around, ruin someone's story, and just kind of just flat out be like, I'm just going to go to random places and just mug people and shoot them and take their fucking space cars. Like, I understand the idea of wanting to fuck around in stories and kind of be your own character and make it a lot more unique. But this is also a case where it's like, everybody doesn't need to hop on that page of, hey, you see this? Fuck that. We're doing this. And it's just like, you know what? Fuck that group. It's probably best that they disbanded anyways, because it's better to play actual games with real people and have fun than to be someone else's fun, you know what I'm saying? Our next story comes from the same subreddit posted 2 months ago from Cyberpunk Crusader 01 called Drunk Cop Threatens to Arrest DM. I guess you could say he's probably not lawfully good. Oops. I'm sorry. I'm fucking sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. This happened at a game store in the city. Generally, I play D&D with a fairly nice community. The DM has been running games for our group, plus other players in the game shop who come in and out of the game for years now. One of the transient players, as I will refer to him, happened to be a cop. He had been coming to the game shop for a few months by this point and was chill with the DM. He ended up joining our table and rolling up a drow wizard. Now this guy had a drinking problem. Oh, that already kind of sets a great mindset. I mean, the story is drunk cop. I mean, what the fuck did I expect, right? What is wrong with you? Now this guy had a drinking problem, and he would often show up buzzed, or he would straight up bring a beer or whiskey, which was technically against the rules, but the employees never really enforced the no alcohol rule. Nah, man, I don't think so. Listen, there's a lot of people that don't really feel comfortable in those sort of settings, so I think it's best for, like, most of those shop owners to probably, even employees, to keep on those rules. I know I'm sounding like a, oh, what are you, fucking rule-following Nancy? And it's like, no, but, well, yes, but I do think that it's best to be sure that people aren't uncomfortable. This led to his character being a bit chaotic stupid. Being at him getting involved in edgelord murder hobo antics, missing important information because he's not paying attention, or can't pay attention, talking over other players, and going on random rants that have nothing to do with the game, etc. When he got too drunk, we would just ignore him as much as possible, but he did get himself killed on this one mountain where our goal was to cross a chasm. He was particularly sloshed that day and decided to use a 3rd level fly spell to cross a big ass chasm filled with enemy archers and evil birds. We all previously decided to cross via the cave system. There was 0 chance he was going to make it, and a DM said, "Your character feels the cold, ethereal embrace of death as he considers what he is about to do." And then out of the game he says, "Are you sure you want to do this?" Dude, if it's that bad to the point where it's like they have to break character and be like, "Hey, are you good? You sure you want to actually like make this decision? Because I'm telling you, it's not gonna fucking happen." Like, if a DM tells you it's not gonna happen, you have to just kind of at that point just be like, "Okay, it's just not gonna happen," because they're the game master. They control the game. They're the ones that basically decide what's gonna happen, what's not gonna happen. You know. So if they say you have a chance, you have a chance. But if they say you don't, well, fuck. And he says, "Yes, let me Oh, that's what he says. "Yes, let me fly across it, goddammit. Y'all are just pussies." And so he did. DM had him roll acrobatics to see how well he could evade the attacks to avoid an encounter that would almost certainly lead to him falling to his death. He ended up encountering a gang of He ended up encountering a gang of Arakuras, I'm sorry, I cannot fucking say that correctly, and rocks, about 1/3 of the way across the chasm, and we were way too far to help him. The encounter was brutal, and he was downed, fell from a height of 4,000 feet, and died instantly. Dude, that would be fucking pretty entertaining to watch. Like, yes, I understand, like, story-wise, you would probably be playing this and be like, fuck, we just lost a player, but still, I'd be sitting there and I'd be like, dude, that guy, we're literally just across this mountain, this guy just fucking fell 4,000 feet down here. We technically don't even know that happened. After a few seconds, it finally dawned on him that this wasn't a roll for death save or wait for the party to heal you type of death. He was dead. He said, "What the hell, man? I was gonna make it." DM said, "No, you most certainly would not. Lol." Even if you passed that agility check and avoided the encounter, there were several points in which you would have had to pass. It was practically impossible. The player then said, "Oh, I see. You just wanted to kill me off, and for what? You got a problem with me or something? You do know I'm a cop, right? I could have you arrested, bucko. And trust me, you would not last a day in prison without getting your asshole rearranged." You know, a part of me thinks some of that is probably not what he said, but I'm sure that this was probably the best interpretation of what someone said in a drunk stupor. So I'll give you that, but I will say doesn't sound 100%, but hey, I wasn't there. I can't say I wasn't there. You know, who's to say? I wasn't there. DM then kind of froze as this drunk idiot was threatening him like this over a D&D game. Thankfully, one of the other players wasn't having it and said, "Do it then. In fact, take us all down to the station. Drunkenly drive your police car down to the police station and explain to your boss that DM is under arrest for the high crime of having pretend birdmen roll dice to kill off your pretend dark elf." That would be pretty fucking awesome to tell your boss. He then got up and stormed out while cussing DM out and ranting about how stupid the game was and how he was never going to play D&D again. We never did see him back in the store after that. You know, I gotta say, that is a pretty entertaining story. I do feel like maybe just a tad bit of it at the end was probably just kind of made up there. I hate to say, but I gotta say, pretty damn entertaining story. You know, it's the kind of encounters like that that you love to watch but never actually be a part of. You know what I'm saying? Like, getting involved in it sucks because then you have to deal with some asshole that's drunkenly yelling at you and smells like piss. But when you're like watching it across the table, God, dude, I'm telling you. And I'm just saying, as a game store employee, I bet you that must be fucking entertaining to watch, even though you have to probably kick that motherfucker out eventually, though. That shit must be so fun to watch. I'm just saying. I gotta make my hair look good. I gotta straighten my hair. Our final story is a very special one, since it actually comes from my Discord server, from a section called Tales from the Mana Crypt. The story was posted by Grumpy Carno, called DM Forgets This Isn't AO3. So my husband found a DM on a local Facebook group who goes by Overland Nerd Church, NC/DM, and after a brief call says we seem like a great fit for his table. Also note, the male barbarian also played a wizard. I'll just refer to him as Barbarian. The next day, the NC messages me privately doing a bit of roleplay to get my character where she needs to be for me to join the session that is about a month away. My character, for reference, is a 1-foot-tall barbarian Haragon with jet black fur. NC approves the height. NC messages me off for the next 2 weeks saying things like, "A mysterious face appears above you and watches the little bunny sleep," or "Soon, my little bunny." Fuck? What, has he got a kink in like watching you sleep? Like, what is this shit? What is this like bunny shit? You know, when I think of bunny, I think of like Buck the bunny. Anybody think about that? The old GameStop fucking mascot? Like, I don't know. I asked my husband if he was also being messaged, and he said no. He then asked in the group if DM was gonna do the same with him, and DM said no, he was too busy. Bro, this guy literally just pulled the, "Yeah, sorry, I don't do that for dudes." 5 minutes later, I got messaged privately and was told not to share our messages with my husband, and that he wanted me to convince my husband to not multi-class, after being greenlit to do so, and in exchange, I'd get a staff of resurrection. Hubs did it with the agreement that he would take his first multi-class after 2 level ups. DM starts me and Hub in a room together, and we decide our characters spent long enough together alone that they would share their supplies that they each had. So Hub's character got my staff. This is important. Side note is Hub's character is a dark half-elf rogue who is your classic loner type. Well, our session 1 begins by both receiving a cursed weapon and having to roll a con save against them. I passed and DM was clearly upset by that, stating my luck wouldn't hold out. Hubs failed and DM said his character garb turned stark white and his rogue very flamboyantly and openly gay. What? Man's really just pulled the, "Yeah, you're gay. Yeah, you're gay." This upset Hubs, who didn't want his character to change, but we played on. Session 1 wasn't too bad, pass that aside from the DM and the second barbarian constantly referencing these other 2 characters and non-stop describing how beautiful they both are, and that they are married. As well as that player and DM non-stop making a joke about how my Haragon's going to be a furry. Anytime I asked about that, they would laugh and say, "You'll see." Dude, can we stop with the character manipulation? Like, let people play the game, bro. Like, yes, there's moments where, like, you can fuck around with people, but you don't have to put them on edge where they're just like, oh shit, am I about to be targeted? Am I about to be like the focus of like this game now where I'm just gonna be made fun of? Like, bro, this is like, I'm gonna be real. If it kind of got to this point where like you're getting uncomfortable and people are kind of doing some shit, personally just leave. Like, that's what I'd say. I know some people like, oh dude, stick it up. It's like, nah dude, like if you don't feel good and you feel like people are like harassing you and making you feel like shit, just get out of there. Fuck people, bro. You ain't worth other people's time. You're worth your own. Just always remember that. Session 2, the DM insta-kills the bard off the bat for not saying the deity's name correctly. So Bard spent the session making a new character. I later asked the player if he asked to be killed, and he said no, he didn't. At some point, the second barbarian turns into the husband of the most beautiful characters that they wouldn't shut up about, and then jokes get made about how my character's gonna be a furry soon. Not that I mind, but still was making me feel anxious. DM suddenly says he forgot our con saves and said I needed to pass an 85% to 100 while everyone else still had a 50% to pass. I got a 90 and he slammed his fist on the table, mad. Later, the second barbarian player was being a jerk, and after approval from the DM, my character gave him a thump and said to cut it out. The player got mad and went to the hall with the DM. When they came back, the player dropped 14 fireballs in the room we were all in. I missed 2 checks, Hub made all of his. Everyone else failed, but 1 or 2 each. Dude, what the fuck? Like, no, that's some bullshit, bro. So, out of nowhere, so he's just gonna go in the hallway, talk to the DM, be like, can I attack them? And he's gonna, like, dude, that's not fucking fair. That's like flat out teaming against 2 other people in your fucking party. Like, yeah, once again, this is just an instance where it's like, this is a game that has just gone downhill from the second jokes got thrown. And now you got a grumpy mumpy player that's gonna throw 14 fireballs because you fucking hit him with a thumpy because they're all they couldn't take the thumpy, now they gotta fucking burn your ass. Like, the DM had me somehow take more damage than anyone else. He claimed it was part of my curse item to absorb damage others take near me, even though it hadn't happened at any other point in the game thus far. Well, based on his word, my character insta-died. Hubs went to use my Staff of Resurrection, and DM tried to say it melted. He showed where before the game began, I gave it to him to hold on to, so if he dodged all of the hits, it wouldn't be hurt. DM got mad again, saying, I am the god here, not you two! I said it melted! I pulled up info on it that said it would take stronger magic than Fireball to damage it. He folded his arms and huffed, fine, use it. However, it probably won't work as you want it to. You know, if it ever gets to a point where you're flat out just quoting that you're a god in D&D, then I think that's the moment where you really have to look at yourself in the mirror and say, wow, I'm a dildo. Like, there's just no other way of looking at it. You have to go, damn, I became a dildo. I pointed out again that it has written rules on what it does, and it would bare minimum bring my character back to 1 HP. He had Hubs roll a percentage skill check, and Hubs beat it by 1%. He said that it wasn't good enough to fully heal me, and brought me back as a zombie with 1 HP that he forced to instantly attack another player who killed me again. Also said the staff turned to dust and vanished. Fucking fuck you, motherfucker. Bro, fuck this guy. I was upset, but started making another character. I asked about being a warlock with a silly gimmick, and he wrote back on the paper, no, if you're a warlock, you're going to be a warlock of smut. Crumpling up the paper, I said, hell no. People asked what was wrong. DM began to go through all the various things I'd have to do as a warlock of smut to gain power, and that all my attacks would be sex-based, using a whip for a weapon, that she would moan her attacks and would call male characters daddy. Nope, fuck that. Out, bail, that's over, done, nah. Bro, if I was the husband, that's just where I'd get up and be like, dude, how much of an incel fucking loser are you? I wrote up another idea of a barbarian who thinks they are just a bard but have a horrid singing voice, and handed it to him to be a secret for the group. He approved it, but instantly gave away enough vocally that another player asked if I was going to be a secret barbarian. Now remember the con check and the most beautiful women? So he revealed before we left the next session that my Haragon would have to be a 99% check, and should she fail, she would have to turn into The most beautiful human cleric, standing 6 feet tall with long blonde straight hair, the most perfect hourglass figure with a tiny waist, huge tits, and a huge ass, as well as being married to the other barbarian's player character, and so devoted she would fall on a sword to save him. I had already told the DM I struggle with memory issues and I don't play magic characters due to this. They are far too overwhelming for me. I gotta say, when you're dealing with people in D&D that just kind of get to this point where they have to really imagine, like, women and, like, that way on a fucking tabletop game, it just really shows, like, the deep, dark crevice corners of where they've been and just how they obviously have not been out in the world enough to know just life. Imagining things is one thing, but trying to imagine, like, girlfriends on a tabletop is just... I cried on the way home. I was so upset by how it all went. I told Hubs I wasn't going back, and he agreed. I messaged my roommates, who at the time was a DM in a full group. Otherwise, we would have just played with him. And he was furious about how Nerd Church handled things. That's another thing I want to say too. This is like a professional group as well, from what it sounds like. This is like a group of people that have like DMs that they either hire or that like sign up to be in the group. How does this shit just slide, you know? It's like, it's one of those things where it's like, dude, there's no way that you could just flat out be at a table and just tell somebody or like over-sexualize their character like that and just get away with it. Like, I'm sure in some cases a lot of people would say, well, you'd be surprised. And it's like, bro, I hate that. I fucking hate that, especially in a game store, you know? In a fucking game store. It's like, you'd think there'd be some justice there, right? I blocked Nerd Church on Facebook, and Hub sent a very polite message saying, hey, I'm sorry, but wife doesn't feel comfortable playing anymore with how sexual earlier tonight got. We will not be returning. At first, the NC replied saying no worries, he already has the seats filled. But like 6 hours later, he went off on Hubs about how nobody was sexualizing us. That Hubs isn't a man because he had to Google cursed items. Hubs shot back that NC was wrong in how he treated me and that he's breaking actual rules to play out his fantasies. NC replied, it's his story, and we just play the characters in it. Worst part of it all? I forgot my jacket my bestie gifted me and was never able to get it back. It was just a cheap one from Walmart, but still. I haven't played D&D since, and I have even fallen out of love of collecting dice, because what's the point? Why get them if I'm not using them? Forgot to add that when we were on the first phone call, he said that everyone was 21 plus. We get there, one girl was 15, and another guy was 17. He was also giving them both access to weed, which legal age is 21 plus. And then to double down on the story, here's actually some screenshots of those texts if you want to pause the video to check those out. But just kind of shows that, yeah, even in a professional setting, sending texts like that back is just pretty ridiculous. Once again, just a lot of great things to put on your title card, you know what I'm saying? Just like, yeah, we host games, we'll sexually harass you, we'll sell weed to your kids. Like, it's all a great thing going on here, isn't it? Isn't it just a great thing? The thing is that I think people forget is, it may be your world, but those characters write the story. You may think you've written the story, but no. The characters are what write the story. You just create the world in it. You can manipulate it to whatever way you want, but those characters are what are going to actually make your story fucking matter. So when people kind of pull this shit of like, yeah, I'm going to control you and do as I want, this is a case where you just got to be like, well, I'm not going to fill in your fucking fantasy. You're a weird fucking goober, and I'm going to go back home or play with some people that are actually cool and not weird and gross as fuck. But that's all the terror tales I have for you today. If you liked the video and are wishing for more, be sure to like and subscribe, and be sure to share with your friends that might have also had the exact same experience. And if you have a terror tale of your own or just looking to join a really awesome community, be sure to click on the link for the Discord below, where you have a chance of having one of your own detailed stories in the next video. But that's all I've got for y'all today. Thank you so much for watching the video, and thank you so much for the support and all for the followers. We just recently hit 3,000 followers, so I really appreciate y'all. You're so awesome. Thank you so much, and I cannot wait to see the next terror tale. Deuces.